of these wooden crafting coasters. You can find these online. They are fairly inexpensive. And I just need to find the center of this circle here. So I just made a template really quick by tracing around the coaster on paper, cutting that out, folding it in half and folding it in half again. Then I snipped off the very corner there, and then that is the center of my circle. I just marked that, and then I'm taking my Dremel and making a hole. I'm not going all the way through, but I'm going most of the way through the coaster. I'm going to be gluing down this skewer stick. I used wood glue to glue the skewer stick down in that hole, and then I let that set up. I have these dark green, they're also called moss green, pipe cleaners here that I got from Amazon. Those are in my Amazon store. The link will be in the description box. And I used about half of the package of these pipe cleaners on another Christmas tree last year. And so I'm using not quite all of what is left in this package for this other style of pipe cleaner Christmas tree. I just wrapped the trunk of the tree in the pipe cleaner, and then I'm just going to take and wrap the pipe cleaner around the trunk here to create some limbs of the trees. And then I'm just on each limb, I'm going to do sort of like a snowflake style little branches coming off of the main trunk here. You absolutely could use glue. Hot glue would be good, any other glue. If you wanted this to be, if you were worried about this not being secure enough, I found that as I was messing with it, the sort of fuzz on the pipe cleaners was sort of clinging to itself. And so not only am I using, wrapping it around, using that wire to tightly wrap these branches on here, also the material on the pipe cleaners is sort of clingy to itself, if that makes sense. So I didn't feel like I needed any glue, any adhesive, but you absolutely could use some. You absolutely could use just scissors to cut these pipe cleaners. The wire is so tiny in there that scissors would work to cut them. But I have found over the years that even cutting very thin wire with scissors, it can kind of mess your scissors up. I did have in the house, some old scissors. It would be good to have a designated pair to cut wire with. That way if you mess them up, no big deal. Maybe like a cheap pair from the Dollar Tree, that would be good. But I just didn't want to go get those. I just had my wire cutters here on hand. But I think scissors would have been quicker to use even than the wire cutters, because it sort of fought with the material. So I sort of had to, use the wire cutters and then clamp down and sort of wiggle the wire. But it wasn't too bad. They worked well. I just used those wire cutters to snip off the top, and then I have these two short pieces of the pipe cleaner. I just bent them in half, and I'm going to glue those to the top to try to make a sort of natural looking top to the tree. I was just showing you there that I used half the package on that tree last year, and I didn't need the other half. I used about a quarter of the package on this tree. It didn't take as many pipe cleaners as that tree did last year. I have these pieces off of a pine cone. I decided that I didn't like the way the trunk looked at the bottom there, just covered in pipe cleaners. I wanted to give a more of a wood look. There's, probably several things, just use your imagination, that you could cover that trunk with to give it more of a wood look. But I just had these next to me and I thought they looked fine and gave it more of a wood look for that trunk. I have this Varathane gel stain in this condiment bottle, and it's a mixture, half American walnut and half dark walnut. I do have those in my Amazon store, but I just wanted to show you here. You do want to shake this occasionally. I have found, there have been times when the color was a little bit off, and it had just been that I hadn't shaken it in a while. And so if you're using one of these condiment bottles like I am, it is water-based, so that's how I can put it in this squeeze bottle. You just want to, make sure you secure that lid there and then shake it up every once in a while to keep that stain mixed well. Now you can decorate the tree, of course, however you like. I wanted to make to make it look old-fashioned, sort of vintage, and so I'm going to make some tiny little candle cups and some little candles to go onto the tree. And at first I used some push pins, and I used those to make the candle cups, but I did realize that some paper brads would work better, and so I end up using those. But I do show you how to make one with the gold push pins if that's what you have. I just used a skewer stick from the Dollar Tree as the candle itself, and I did not paint them or anything. I felt like the natural wood was a good candle color. I used wire cutters to cut the pointy thing off of the push pin. And that's it for that. You just glue it down in there, and then you can make a flame if you want, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that soon. But I figured out that these little brads, if you take just some pliers and wiggle one of the brads back and forth, it will break off very easily. And then if you take the other brad, I think I'm calling these the correct terms, I'm not sure. But if you take the other brad and then wrap it underneath itself, it'll create like a little clip where you can clip and secure each of these candle cups onto the tree. For the flame on each candle, I just dipped each end of some toothpicks into orange paint and then let that dry, and then I will snip those off, and that will be the flame on each candle. I used hot glue to assemble these, and they seem to be holding up just fine, but you could of course use another glue if you'd rather. These are so cute, and I just love them. I was so excited when I figured out how to make these and how to go about making tiny candles. I do really enjoy making miniatures. I can understand why there are miniature crafters, because it is definitely fun. But I started out so excited about how they looked. And then, after making about 10 of them, the excitement waned. It took a while to make all of these, but it was fun for at least the first half of them. I also like these being clipped on versus having to be glued on if you use the heads of the push pins. That way you can adjust them and change them around, and you might decide that you don't like the spacing that you did, and so it's not a permanent hold. I have got to buy some tiny stars for little Christmas trees this year. I've got this little snowflake that came off, it's just plastic, it came off of some tinsel covered item from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to try to transform this into a star, into something that looks like a star. And so I just trimmed it up a little bit, and then I'm going to paint it gold. I gave it a base coat of truffle and then went over that with gold leaf rub and buff. There are so many ways you could customize this little tree, and you could definitely make it much bigger. It had the potential, with the length of the pipe cleaners, you could make a bigger base, a bigger trunk, and definitely, make bigger branches and make this tree overall larger if you wanted to. This is just a quick reminder that if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you don't miss any future videos. I've got one of these wiffle balls from the Dollar Tree. They come in a pretty big multi-pack, and I'm going to be covering them in acorns. Now, I made an acorn ornament last year, but I did it in a different style, and so I wanted to make this style this year. I have these, I got to make a hanger for the ornament, and so I have these zip ties, and I'm just going to take one and then send it through 2 of the holes and secure that, and then tie my ornament hanger to that. And I'm just going to use twine. You could use anything, just about anything you wanted, some ribbon or whatever you want to use. But I felt like the twine matched the style of it. And then I just hot glued the acorn caps to the wiffle ball. If you wanted it to look more moss heavy, you could certainly space these out further away from each other. Mine, the majority of it is the acorn color on this ornament because I just barely left any spaces for the moss, but I liked how that looked. I have some of these Christmas floral scraps from the Dollar Tree, and these are just little foam berries, and I'm going to glue those onto the ornament here. And it would be a great idea to seal this ornament in. Just spray it down with some clear matte spray paint, and that will seal in that moss and keep it from shedding as much. This is just a quick reminder that if you're looking for any of the craft supplies or tools that I use in my videos, odds are it's in my Amazon shop. You just go to amazon.com/shop/craft classy, and I'm always adding to that as I try out new supplies and new tools. And if I like them after I've used them, I will put them in my Amazon shop. I have this little lantern here. It's out of the Crafter Square section of Dollar Tree. I'm just sort of a general hanging lantern with a light inside of it, and I'm going to make this into a Christmas ornament. This will be a printable in the description box. It is from another Christmas video from last year, or maybe it was this year, Christmas in July. I don't know, it was very recent, but I will leave a link to that printable. Here's the craft that I forgot that I brought it in front of the camera. There's the craft that I made with it using that larger Santa, but I'm going to be using these this smaller Santa print out here. And I'm just going to Mod Podge that to 2 of the sides on this little lantern. I'm going to paint the lantern with True Burgundy acrylic paint. I have this plastic trim from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to give it a base coat of truffle chalk paint. And then I'm going to cut these little sides of this trim in half to make a border trim to use on this little lantern. And so I just cut down that lengthwise, and then I went over that with gold leaf rub and buff. I'm going to use Titebond Quick and Thick multi-surface glue to glue down the trim, and this is just going to add some more decorations and make this little ornament not so plain. I have these wooden letters from Walmart I bought a while back, and I'm just going to give them the same paint treatment as that trim, and then I'll be gluing that onto the back of the lantern. On the side of the lantern that had that decorative cutout, those swirls, I just wanted to highlight that so it wasn't so flat, and so I did go around the edges of that with the gold leaf rub and buff to just to make it more decorative and to look better. I glued down the word joy sort of at an angle, and then I added more of that trim around the base and top of the ornament. The glue hadn't fully dried when I took the pictures, but I did want to let you know that glue does dry clear, and it looks a lot better now after that glue has completely set up. This is just the start of the Christmas crafting videos this year. I'm so excited to get into this, but I did want to let you know that if you're, looking for a heavy dose of Christmas crafting to get the season started off, you can go to my channel and click on playlists, and I have those playlists organized by seasons and holidays, and you can click on the Christmas winter playlist if you're looking for a lot of inspiration to start the season off. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.